that Beenzino ruined the Counting Stars song by BL. This one is going to be my reaction to you guys' brutal K-hip-hop opinions. I got this idea from somebody who makes K-pop videos. I will be linking their video down in the description so everybody can check that out. I'm very thankful for the inspiration, so shout out to them. The first one, it's just that LeellaMarz is handsome in a strange way. Huh? So I think that's actually a compliment, but I guess the strange way part is where the brutal part comes in, because if somebody said that, I feel like I'd be like, wait, what do you mean strange way? What do you mean by that? My reaction is that I don't feel too strongly one way or the other. And the next one is a little bit harder for me to answer. GroovyRoom are better producers than Gray. For me, I think Gray is a better all-around producer. I think he could do any genre, every type of artist, all of that. Based on what Gray said on Show Me the Money 10 to Mud the Student, when he's like, oh, I'll just let you run free and do whatever you want. That shows me like he's that type of producer who wants to enhance, not really mold you, if you will. GroovyRoom, on the other hand, I feel like they're better at solely hip hop producing. So if it's a drill type song or if it's a sing rap type song or something like that, I think that you want GroovyRoom for that. Gray can do hip hop too, it's just that specific genres we've never actually heard him do yet. So who knows, maybe in the future, but that's how I feel about that one. I'm gonna move on to the next. So this one is one that's actually kind of brutal. So this one is about Jay Park. Oh man. So it says, look, he has a great feature and manages to make a good song great. But him as a solo artist, his rap sounds so unnatural to me. OMG, his rap in The Purge where he was trying to pull a Kendrick Lamar, but it was giving Dying Bird. Ooh. And WTF is what is up with his beat selection. Like, he should stick to doing ballads. That's a lie. So I'm gonna point out what I 100% agree with first, and it's like actually the nicer thing. So he's a great feature. I agree with that. He can make a good song great. I agree with that. They said at the end he should stick to doing ballads. I disagree with that. I think he should do more R&B. That's my particular thing. But I think he could do ballads, R&B, things like that. Him as a solo artist, again, I do think he's good as a solo artist, as long as he's doing more R&B type stuff. His rap sounds so unnatural. I don't agree with that either. I don't think it sounds unnatural. I just not the biggest fan of him as a rapper. That's just me. I don't know. I actually don't listen to that song The Purge that much. I'm not really a big fan of that particular song because I think it had like a lot of AOMG and higher artists on it, right? Wasn't it on one of those higher mixtapes, red tape or blue tape? So, and I know that that's a hip-hop classic to a lot of K-hip-hop classic to a lot of people, but I wasn't really into it. But so I don't remember what he sounded like on that song, to be honest, because that's how little I listened to that song. Long story short, I disagree with this part of this one and then I agree with other parts, so that's that. His beat selection is usually fine to me, so that's just how I feel. But, you know, we can agree to disagree and all of that. I don't really take this personally, but I feel like a lot of you guys are probably gonna have an issue with that statement, so I don't know. You guys can talk about it in the comments if you want. So on to the next one. This one's about BeWhy. Artistically and technically a musical genius, a rap prodigy if you might, but goddamn, he might be the worst performer I have ever seen in my life. I can't wait. What? I had to disagree with this one because I remember seeing BeWhy on like Show Me the Money 5, and Show Me the Money, if you're not a good performer, you're gonna get eliminated. You're not gonna get voted for. So I don't know if I can agree with this one. Maybe this person is talking about they went to a concert of his and they were like not feeling it. So this probably took place after Show Me 5, but ooh, that's interesting. I disagree with that, but I would like to know more detail on that. So if you're the one who sent this in, these are sent anonymously because I wanted people to be 100% honest. If you're the one who sent this one in, then give me some detail on that. Like, why do you feel that way? But thanks for sending that in. Oh, this one and the last one were all sent in by the same person. So, and then they put another one about Sik-K, another one about Tablo. So I'm gonna do those and then let you guys know. So the one about Sik-K, they said, the Quavo, I think it's Quavo, right? I'll be pronouncing that name crazy. Quavo, but I think it's Quavo. The Quavo of K-hip-hop. Do I need to say more? So I actually did reach out to this person for this one. They sent me some more information about it. because I asked them what they meant, and so they ended up sending me an anonymous message on Tumblr. Alright, so in that message that they sent to me, they said this as per their explanation. Hey, I'm the person who compares Sik-K to Quavo. I just meant that his rap is not that good. I've seen a lot of people have that opinion about Sik-K. He just has a lot of swag. I agree with that. Both are just there for the vibe and making weird background noises and then somehow end up being the most popular on a song. Ha ha ha. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, so I do think that Sik-K is the vibe maker. As far as his rap, not that good. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's terrible either. And making weird background noises, I feel like Sik-K brings more than that to a song. I feel like he's a really good song maker. That's why he's so popular. He knows just like what's gonna make people dance, what's gonna make people wanna keep listening, and like he's a good artist. He's not the best rapper, but he's a good artist. And I wanna say shout out to Yunli for that, because she's the one who like made the distinction. She considers herself an artist, but not really a rapper, because she holds rappers to a different standard. And so I agree with her on that. So shout out to her for giving me that, changing my perspective on that, or giving me more perspective on that. But anyway, back to the point. He ends up being the most popular on the song because I think he just understands what makes a good song. And Quavo too, to a certain extent. I think the Migos, the way they got so popular is specifically because they understand the same thing. Like their songs make you want to really get up and dance and stuff. So, and they're just catchy. They're so catchy. So again, that's another thing with Sik-K. So I actually do agree with the comparison of Sik-K and Quavo. And I mean, I don't fully agree with some of the things in it, but I already explained those. So yeah, so that was a good one. That was a good explanation. Thank you for sending that in. And I'm gonna move on to your next opinion, which is about Tablo. So let's do that. Lyrically, great rapper, but suffers from weak rap voice syndrome. Okay, obviously he's a great rapper. That's kind of not in dispute for most people. And suffers from weak rap voice syndrome. I always thought Tablo had an okay voice. I never paid too much attention to it, as weird as that sounds. But after this, they sent this in, I was like, like his voice is kind of thinner, nasally on that side. I don't know if I would call it weak though, but I do think it's like thinner. I think a lot of people just like deeper rap voices. I'm gonna be honest. On certain instrumentals and when they're saying certain things, it does give you a certain if your voice is deeper and stuff. So that's how I feel. And that person who sent me all four of those were good, brutal opinions. You really went in, so thank you for that. I'm gonna move on to the next person. So this next completely different person said that their thoughts of Reddy's newest BFTC song was that they thought it was a loopy song. Alright, so when I ended up checking that song out, I did kind of agree with that. Like it does sound loopy-esque in some parts because of how high Reddy has his voice and also the auto-tune on it. So I do kind of agree with that one. So yeah, gotta move on to the next though. So this next one is actually about KRNB, but I'm still gonna read it anyway because why not? This person says, as a Black person, KRNB is not cultural appropriation. I disagree with that too. It's a deep explanation, so let me get to the end. So you know how much representation is lacking in Korean music with a tight, smooth feel right now? Okay, so I agree that not all KRNB is cultural appropriation. I feel like you can do a song from a race that's not your race, or an ethnicity that's not your ethnicity, without it inherently being cultural appropriation. It's how you go about it. I'm not super well versed in KRNB, but I feel like the vast majority of KRNB artists aren't like stepping out of their lane. They're kind of just making their music and going, and it's influenced by R&B and all that, but I don't see them appropriating to the level that I've seen like K-hip hoppers and K-poppers, the musicians. I don't feel like I've seen them culturally appropriate as much as I've seen those two genres, right? I agree that it's not inherently cultural appropriation. I do believe that it can be cultural sharing, or cultural inspiration, cultural influence, but there is a few KRNB stars who are like kind of racist, and so I do consider them cultural appropriators. The difference between appropriation is This is a complicated topic, so I want to make sure I get it pretty right. So I'm making this voiceover because I don't think I got it right the first time I recorded this. So as far as cultural appropriation, I don't think KRNB or K-hip-hop for that matter is inherently cultural appropriation. I think there's a line between appropriation versus cultural sharing, cultural borrowing, and cultural appreciation. So to my knowledge, the Black community has never said that hip-hop or R&B is a closed practice. In fact, we've had multiple non-Black people in both of these practices. We've had Eminem, even though we don't probably want to use him as a good example, he's probably veered into appropriation territory. But we've also had the Beastie Boys. We've had Robin Thicke in R&B. We've had Amy Winehouse do some R&B stuff. We've had a lot of non-Black people do R&B and hip hop, and a lot of them we did like for the most part. Some of them, like Eminem and even Justin Timberlake, we stopped messing with them after a while because they just got too beside themselves and started getting disrespectful. So back to the main point, you can engage in these, but it's about the respect aspect. If Black people say that something is disrespectful, it's not up to you to argue with us and be like, no, I don't think this, or it's just appreciation. If we said it's disrespectful, then it's disrespectful. You need to stop right there, especially if it's like hundreds or thousands of Black people telling you this. On the other hand, when it comes to like plagiarism, and I consider obviously the intellectual property that you can trademark, like the music, when people are plagiarizing off of these artists, I think that's inherently disrespectful to the Black community, even though you're only technically stealing one person's individual intellectual property. And in addition to that, when you start wearing dreadlocks and all that stuff, and you start stealing the aesthetic and the lifestyles that you never lived, talking about doing drills and having ops, you're never from no type of any place anywhere near Chicago, and you don't even live like that in Korea, right? Or any country, because this isn't just directed at Koreans. When you start doing that, I feel like that's disrespectful because you're taking the context away and kind of watering it down and bastardizing it from its original meaning and point. And because you don't really know what you're talking about, to be honest, you can perpetuate very bad stereotypes and things about Black people and Black culture as a whole. So this topic is way more complicated than I really have time to get into. That's why I still don't feel like I did it fully justice, but I feel like I gave a nice little beginner level overview. And so I hope that helps. I don't think it's inherently appropriation, but I do believe that there is a lot of appropriation in K-hip-hop in particular. I haven't noticed it as much in KRNB. Usually what I notice in KRNB is that there's a few people who will treat their Black fans differently or just ignore the things that Black fans say when they're telling it disrespectful. And then in K-hip-hop, as we all know, it's like a lot more blatant. It's a lot of the lifestyle appropriation, as well as like the hairstyles and so much stuff in K-hip-hop, and it's so many of them, like it's over half of them, to be completely honest. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. I hope you guys got my point. I know it's kind of rudimentary, but yeah, I hope you guys got my point, and I'm gonna continue with the rest of the video. Thanks for sending that in. I do think that there's a lot of representation lacking with a tight, smooth bill right now. My own personal opinion about KRNB is that there's not enough people who can really sing. Like, I feel like Dean can really, really sing, but the stuff I've heard of him, I don't feel like he's shown his true what he can really do. Because I've heard stuff of him in the studio doing things, and then I've heard his songs, a few of them, and I just don't feel like his songs are really showing the full extent of his voice. So I don't know, that's just my, I guess, maybe brutal opinion. I don't think it's brutal. I think it's just blunt and, straightforward. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people in KRNB who, like, I want singers, like very strong singers, if I'm gonna listen to R&B, and I just feel like I haven't really seen that many people like that in R&B, and that's why I'm not really a fan. But anyway, I'm gonna go on to the next one. This is another one about looks. It's about Code Kunst this time. So this person said, Code Kunst is my ideal type. He's just fine as F to me. Do you agree? No, he's not my ideal type, but that's okay. He's fine as F to me. I don't agree. Just not really a look that I like. I don't think he's super ugly or anything crazy. It's just like not my personal thing, you know what I mean? And so that's how I feel about that. So the next one is that Jvcki Wai isn't a great rapper. This goes back to the Sik-K one for me. I agree. But again, I feel like Jvcki has an interesting voice and she just, I don't know, she has a great style and she can make a good song that I want to listen to. Even though she may not be the best rapper, she's a good artist, and I feel like that's why people enjoy her. That's why I enjoy her. That's really it. Tablo should not have made it as far in SM Show Me the Money at all. His rapping is trash. I do agree that he shouldn't have made it that far in Show Me the Money. After a while, he just got kind of repetitive, but in the beginning stages, I felt like he was just fun and interesting to listen to. And I know y'all love Tablo and y'all don't play about him, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't think I would call him trash or horrible, but I think my thing with him is that he just got repetitive as far as the other contestants in the season went too. So I don't know. I think he shouldn't have gotten that far either, but that's just me. This next one, this one is brutal too. So this one is that Beenzino ruined the Counting Stars song by BL. I kind of used to feel that way too. Not gonna lie. I was like, man, they kind of could have just left Beenzino off this song and just gave BO another verse. BO could have just wrote a second verse of that song and then that would have been fine. But over time, Beenzino actually kind of grew on me. And so I like that he's on the song now. So that's the change of heart that I had. I used to agree, but now I don't. So the other person said that they view BO as a young G-Dragon. I don't agree with that one. I don't think BO has all that much in common with G-Dragon, but I do think that the song Mad kind of reminds me of Crooked a little bit based on how the video is and the style of the song. It does remind me of G-Dragon in that one, but for the most part, I think BO and G-Dragon are very distinct and don't really have all that much in common. Another one is that Trade L is underrated. I agree with that. I feel like he has just really good songs. I feel like he's a really talented rapper, but for some reason he just hasn't taken off. Like, he should be higher than where he is. I don't want to say he's not famous or anything or that people don't know him, but I don't know. I just feel like he came into the game at like a really weird time. So like he hasn't had his big break yet. So I'm waiting to see when that's gonna be because he's super, super talented. And yeah, I don't think he, of all people, deserves to be underrated, but I feel like some of the best people in K-hip-hop end up being criminally underrated for a really long time. So that just is what it is. Thank you for that. I'm gonna go on to the next. Another one about looks, because the people in my community just love talking about looks because, I don't know, it's just kind of funny. Toil is so fine. I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't think he's ugly again. I feel like he reminds me of somebody. He looks like a mix of Changmo and someone else, but I can't quite put my finger on who the someone else is. I don't know if that even makes sense, but I don't know. He looks familiar. So maybe he just kind of looks like, he looks like he could be like Changmo's brother or something. So they don't look exactly the same, but they have like similarities. Like the hair, the color, the texture, and like kind of the way they style it. I don't know where I'm going with this, but long story short, I do think Toil is somewhat attractive, but he's not really my thing all the way just yet. He's fine, but he's not ugly, but he's kind of attractive. I don't know. Anyway, thank you. I'm gonna go to the next one. So this one is a classic K-pop versus K-hip-hop one, so let's get into that. Someone said a decent handful of K-hip-hop stans swear that K-hip-hop rap is better than original hip-hop. Bombastic side. In reality, those K-hip-hop artists do the bare minimum of rapping and change their entire style to fit this swag style because that's the only way they see hip-hop. I agree with that. I don't think K-hip-hop as a whole is better than hip-hop as a whole. I'm assuming they're talking specifically about like American hip-hop because that's like the birthplace of hip-hop, and I'm sorry, but American hip-hop is it. Like, we invented it, so it is what it is. I don't agree that K-hip-hop as a whole is better than hip-hop as a whole. Do I agree that there's a specific very specific artists in K-hip hop who are better than the vast majority of American hip hop rappers or artists? Yes. So like Tablo, for example, like he's probably a better rapper than the vast majority of people in US hip hop. He's just that talented. But again, there's not that many. So as far as them doing the bare minimum when rapping, I agree that there is some who are like that. And change your entire style to fit this swag style. Okay, so this goes back to the cultural appropriation thing. I think a lot of the rappers feel like they can't just be Korean people, like they're trying to be black too hard, and so they're just culturally appropriating a caricature of what they think Black American culture, African American culture is, and what hip hop is, with no real understanding. And so I agree with that. Hip hop is more than just being swag and trying to be gangster and trying to dress like the Migos and getting dreadlocks and all that stuff. And I think that K-hip hop would be better off overall if some of these rappers would just understand that they don't have to completely mimic everything they see that African American rappers are doing. Overall, I do agree with that. K-hip hop as a whole is not better than American rap as a whole. The last and final one I want to get to is, I don't understand the appeal of Streetbaby at all. Was dumbfounded when some of my favorite artists were saying how he's the real deal whenever he features in a song. I dread it and want to skip over his lines. I agree with it, but not intensely, as I feel like the person who sent this in agrees with it. So I feel like Streetbaby is just kind of like, he hasn't reached his full potential. I don't even know what his full potential is, but I feel like he's just not really amazing yet. I think he's just like, okay. You know, I've heard his previous songs, none of them really stood out to me. And I feel like you can tell he's kind of a newer artist. I don't know what these artists meant when they said he was the real deal. Maybe he's like, I don't know, really gangster in real life, or maybe he's a genuine real person, or maybe they see that he has potential because they've worked alongside him. But for me right now, I'm just not really that into Streetbaby. I do kind of agree with that, but I don't dread it necessarily. It's just, he just kind of pops up on the song and then it just kind of is what it is. Alright, so that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below if you have any unpopular or brutal opinions, and whether you even agree or disagree with the ones in this video. Let me know if you want to see like a part 2 of this video, because I can put another form up and you guys can send in more opinions if you want. And that's all I have for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.